It smells fresh. Hey guys, Ben here, Honeydew Homestead. I'm kind of excited today. We got some really good news today. First of all, the weather is gorgeous. It's sunny. It's like 70 degrees, just a little cool breeze. Chef's kiss. I mean, come on. Okay, today, well, we have to come outside. We have to get this done, but this has been sort of multiple days in planning because the days are still a little too short, and obviously I still got to work and I only have so much time during the week. So 2 days ago I went to Tractor Supply and I picked up something that I'm going to show you very soon that I'm going to use to expand the garden. So that's going to be really cool. We're going to grow just a little bit more this year. We're going to try to get a little more organized, and hopefully what I do to expand the garden is going to be something that we can manage relatively low maintenance for an extended period of time, as opposed to doing what it is that I'm doing now, which is having to sort of rebuild the beds year after year as that mulch kind of breaks down. So that was the first thing that I had to do. That was about 2 days ago. So yesterday I had to make a run to the landscape supply place, and I got a truckload full of this beautiful, stinky, dark, rich compost. It smells fresh. All right. I'm feeling silly today, feeling frisky. Listen, guys. Okay, so here's what's gonna have to happen. I have what I got from Tractor Supply, were, they call them like fire rings or fire pit rings, but they can also be used as garden beds, or at least I'm gonna use it as a garden bed because it has no bottom and they're relatively affordable. I started doing the math on what it would cost me to build a similar, about a cubic yard of soil worth of lumber, and let me just say, in one day, because we just crossed over to a different month at the time of this recording, the price of lumber jumped 40%. 40%. So I'm going with this approach, and the nice thing about it is it's not going to rot in a year or 2 years, or however long I could get out of maybe some untreated timbers. And I don't have to buy the super expensive heat-treated, construction grade, whatever, because I'm just making garden beds. And so this is gonna work fantastic. So, enough talking, I got a lot to do. Let's get to work. Okay, so what I'm gonna have to do next, I've got these tubs where I want them, and let me show you a couple of things while we're here. I have these tubs, they're about 3 foot diameter. What I want to do is line this tub up with this particular row. I have this bed here that I'm gonna be lining up with this, or that's kind of lined up with that row. And honestly, you can tell this is why I wasn't too excited about going with lumber again. There's really nothing holding that together anymore but the wood chips. So I may end up tearing that out after this growing season and getting another one of these and just have 3. But of course, as you can tell, I'll do my best to show the slope. It's pretty bad. Here you can see that's level, but that bin is not level in any direction. So I'm gonna have to level all of this stuff out through here, or at least level each one of these so they'll be kind of, let's let that truck go by. Okay, so the plan is to level each of these so that they're level on the top, but they might sink into the soil on this side a little bit, and then I can possibly prop it up with some wood chips on this side just to get a nice level base. And then we'll start filling that with some material. Same thing's gonna happen here. Once those are level, I'm gonna square this off with some more wood chips just so we can kind of clean this garden up and get a nice square spacing. Trying to find level is deceptive when you're standing on a hill. You think down is straight, but that's not always the case. So you see, I had to bury about half of that on this end, maybe about a quarter on this end, and then as I come around this side, I actually had to prop it up a little bit because, again, my property is all sloping in that particular direction at sort of a diagonal. So I had to prop it up a little on this side. On this side, we're gonna have to push some wood chips up. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with having a little bit of drainage down at the bottom because I don't necessarily want this to hold water. You can see the kind of soil that I'm dealing with, and if I were to completely bury the entire bottom, it's very likely that this would turn into a swimming pool. We don't want that. We want to make sure that we allow that water to drain, and so I'm actually going to line the bottom with some wood chips. Now, typically people will tell you, oh, don't mix wood chips into the soil, and they're kind of right, but the truth is, it's only where the soil is touching wood is where you run into problems of nitrogen depletion and acidifying the soil and all of the things that people complain about with putting wood chips in the soil. It's when you mix it into the soil is when you run into those problems. If you have even separated layers of wood and soil, you're really only talking about that intermediate layer between where the soil is touching the wood. That's where you get the nitrogen depletion, that's where you get the acidification and all of that kind of stuff. So as long as we don't try to till a bunch of wood chips in, we're fine. In fact, we're gonna kind of hugelkultur this because I need to stretch the compost that I have. Granted, I did buy a whole yard of compost. I filled the back of the truck, but I have a feeling it's gonna go a lot faster than I think it is. Plus, I also wouldn't mind using some of that to top off this last bed that has not been seeded yet. All right, let's get to it. Guys, you have no idea how excited this is. There was not a single worm on this property, I swear. I dug holes everywhere and could not find any. He feels a little cold. It's still cold outside, but come on, we got worms. Let me put him back. before we finish this bed and pretty it up and do all of that, I want to go ahead, level out the other bed and make sure that I at least have that done so that I can, worst case, put all the digging tools away, and then we just got to focus on filling it with dirt and doing some mulching and prettying it up. So let's go ahead, let's do the other garden, and then we'll come back and we'll hit them up at the same time. Once again, so we got it pretty level on top here, but you can see it's completely open on this side. I had to elevate it about 3 inches on the back side. You see all of that mud I packed in there. And then over here on this side, we're buried about half, maybe a third of the way in. So we're gonna have to get all these clods of dirt, put them back in there. We'll kind of mix that up with these very decomposed wood chips. Look at this. So these wood chips have been here about a year. Look at this. This is what it's about, guys. That's looking really good. And I've done nothing to these. I literally just threw them on the ground and just let them sit there, and I walked on them to keep my shoes clean in the rain. And it's feeding me with all of that rich humus. All right, so next step, we're gonna start unloading compost. We're gonna start mixing it into this. And I also got a little something extra because I know that if you just put pounds and pounds of raw compost in there, it's gonna pack down, it's gonna get real nasty. So we need something to kind of make it airy, but also something that's not going to affect the sort of neutral pH that it's sitting at right now. So we can't mix it with wood chips, not if we want to use it this year. We're gonna need perlite. Okay guys, so this is it. We got some perlite. So the reason behind perlite, if you don't know, when compost gets dry, it gets very powdery. It's actually kind of hard to hold on to water. As the more and more it dries out, it becomes very hydrophobic. If it gets too wet, it gets heavy and starts to clod together, and it basically looks like cow manure. So what we do with something like this, it's very light, it's very airy. We mix it into the top bed of soil where we're actually going to be planting things, and what it does is it creates those little air pockets. It holds on to moisture while the compost is drying out, and it releases that moisture. And it also captures that moisture when the compost starts to get a little too wet. So having this mix, it's a bit of sort of a garden bed potting mix as opposed to a peat-based potting mix, which we're trying our best to avoid using any sort of peat material. It is a little bit here and there when you start buying actual potting mixes or starting mixes, but I try to avoid those as much as possible, especially if I'm going to do something out in the garden. I can kind of make my own mix, which is kind of fun in itself, instead of just buying something from a bag and dumping it. So that's what we're going to do with this. Let's get to shoveling. I still have a little bit left to do. You see this guy here and this guy right here. I still have a little bit left to fill on each one of those. I've got more than enough compost. I may have miscalculated, but that's okay. The one thing I am a little bit concerned about as I'm digging through it, it feels really hot. Compost might still be a little bit fresh. I don't know that I want to plant anything right now, so I think I'm going to wait maybe another week or two. Let it chill, let it get rained on. Hopefully that's going to cool it off a little bit. We'll see. It is very well broken down, and there is, if you can see that, there's a lot of nutrients going on in there. Using about half on this one, maybe half in the other. If that's not enough, I have another bag. Yeah, that's probably not going to be enough. Yeah, I think one bag will do it. That looks good. Let me get the other bag and we'll take care of the other raised bed. I'm gonna go ahead and get this finished up. I'm probably gonna cut the video off here because I don't think I'm gonna plant into this just yet. I think I just want to get the beds ready, maybe clean up around the outside of these beds, put some extra wood chips down, and then maybe I'll show you the end result either at the end of this video or certainly at the start of the next one. So with that, guys, as always, be good, and I'll see you on the next one.